This is Runic here. Today I've got a Covenant MISK for you guys. So I've got a couple of different cool things to do, such as programmed turrets that actually shoot and fire targets, some mortar shots that actually do, arch and stuff like that. So got the math there. We've got the Covenant drop pod, so it's going to actually spawn a single unit. We've also got a squad drop pod, which is going to spawn an entire squad. We've got a vehicle drop pod, and finally we have the tower drop pod. So I've got a couple of different things here. They all have animations. They all have easy spawn tactics, easy copy paste. So you guys are going to love this. I'm just going to go ahead and start off with the spawning. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take all of these over here, and we're going to take this, and we're just going to move these out of the way for now. I'll show you guys kind of how this works here in a minute. The projectiles on the turrets actually do fire and everything like that normally. So I just want to show you guys the animations real quick for how this operates so that you guys can see the different spawn tactics that we have now that you'll be able to place into your map and use for the Covenant. So let me just kind of load this up real quick and show you guys a quick review. So we have the standard squad drop, the vehicle, and then the deployable single unit. So one more time. Just like that. So, and then so the reason that happened and that they died on impact or on spawning is just simply because the trigger did not move them fully into the zone. So, but that'll be fixed. I haven't built the nav mesh, so it's fine. Anyways, so basically, guys, what we're gonna go over is we will go through these one at a time, and then afterwards we'll talk about the turrets, how the turrets operate. Okay, and then the first one that we're gonna go into is just gonna be the normal spawning for the Covenant. So just normal spawning already in the map, none of the fancy stuff. So this will be the trigger, and then after which this will happen. And so we're just spawning in that slip space. We're triggering the squad to spawn, and then the slip space is going to disappear, and that gives us that clean, nice and clean effect right here. So just like that. Second thing we're going to go over, so we're going to move this off to the side. The second thing we're going to go over is the drop pod. And so this one, all of these are going to operate basically the same, but for the drop pod, the pointer, you're going to want it down just so that you know what it is. This right here is essentially the spawner. So this spawns the drop pod, this spawns the Covenant, elite, or whatever you want to use. You can actually change it to whatever you need. And so we're going to drag this bad boy out. And what this is doing is this is going to use all of these objects. So we're not cloning any objects. And the reason that we're not cloning is simply because this way you guys can see the budget as it's going, and you don't have to worry about if you're cloning too many objects or anything like that. Another reason that we're using this method instead is that because the math that we have to use, if we clone too many objects with this node, it will break. And so this is the easiest method for it to be replicatable. And so with these methods, from here forward, right, so the rest of the spawners, we're going to use a very simple thing where we split up what it's spawning and the devices that are used versus the animation. And so the animation of, the pod falling from the sky, so this one right here, and then the door opens and so on. So we simply are going to use the same animation, and so each device is attached to the animation, is attached so that you guys know which one's which. And I will have this kind of similar in the prefab, but this is just so that you guys can know this is, we don't touch this at all. We don't touch these. Okay, just leave them as they are unless you want to mess with the actual scripting. And then we'll go into the ones above, which is the list of spawners. So think of these as your wave managers. So we're gonna dive into this one, and boom, just like that. So really not a lot. This one has actually the most attached to it. But if we wanted to set up another spawner, right? We just grab all these objects. This is it. This is all we're grabbing. And we simply duplicate it just like that. Or if you want to make things really easy, right? This is the spawner for this, and you're gonna take all these objects, you're gonna drag them off, because the only thing you want in your map is the actual pointers themselves. But everything else you're gonna have, you know, off to the sideline. There's plenty of space in Halo Forge, so just drag it off into the middle of nowhere. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna simply take all of these items, okay? And this is the cool part. You ready? So this is how we make another one. Just like that. That's it. I have simplified it so much for you guys that this is all you need. And then let's say we take these and we just simply move these where we want the covenants to drop. And we'll notice that, you know, they should drop where they're needed. Just like that. And so these are gonna take up this much. Like 17 brains. 17. That's it. Just remember that when you delete the brain, like let's say you no longer want to use the pointer and the covenant drop pod, like this specific one, you just delete all of the properties to it. And so the reason that this works, just to explain this, I won't have to explain it for any of the others, but the reason that this method works is because once you have this, it's feeding all of these objects. So the spawner, the pointer, which is, you know, the drop location, all of these are all getting fed through this custom event. And so this is the part where I say it splits, and we use the animation of this. And so this is the entire animation. This is the drop pod spawning high up, falling down, and we use the same method for all of them. So they all have their own collar that you don't need to duplicate these brains, which is the most expensive part. You don't need to duplicate these at all. You just simply need to duplicate the ones above with the areas that you want. And in the prefab, I will make this nice and easy for you guys to change. So just make sure that you keep everything together. And then when you clone, you know, obviously the spawner needs to be somewhere that it's not touching anything else and that it's in the mesh. But wherever you put this pointer, this is where they're going to drop. Doesn't matter. So pretty cool. And then, so moving on, you know, we've got the squad one. Show you guys the animation real quick. So it's gonna have the spawn drop, and then it's gonna drop in, spawn them inside, and then explode. And so we've got a full squad right here, which is super neat. You're gonna want to turn these, obviously you're gonna want to turn the zones off, like and you can adjust too. If you want to make them something else, you can change them to whatever you need. I just have the simple covenant like squad that I can remember how they were, but if you want to change these, you can just turn them off. Just make sure you don't take the type off, because I do reference the area to transfer the units, so make sure that you don't turn that off. Another thing too is we've got the vehicle drop pod, and just to give you guys kind of a rundown on that, it's going to drop and then it's going to spawn the vehicle. And so this one, the one in the end, is probably my favorite. So we've actually got the Covenant Tower that builds. And then it builds, then it places. So we can actually use this and just go up. And to show you guys, you can't go down. So, pretty cool. And like I said, the only mechanics that you actually have to do to be able to replicate these is just simply copying and pasting the nodes themselves. Just make sure that, like, when you do it, and like I said, I'll have these like really close to each other so you guys will be able to differentiate them. I'll have a nice little palette that you can use. Do not delete these. Just simply copy and paste these brains. It doesn't matter as well if you copy and paste them to a point where you don't remember which one of these are. As long as they're not the animation brains, then they're fine. And so let's say we don't want this on gameplay start. we want this to build based off of a trigger, and then we want, you know, the covenant to drop down based on that trigger. You just simply go into that spawner's rain, right? And so up at the top left, right, we're not going to touch any of these. We actually want to differentiate that. So up at the top left, you would just change this to whatever the trigger is. So if someone walks into the zone and then it spawns, let's go ahead and talk about the turrets, because the turrets are actually really cool. And I do want to take a second to kind of go over that. So we'll talk about this real quick. So the turrets use what I consider stasis projectiles, and so basically what this means is the bullet of a hunter is captured in a stasis zone, and this is actually very simple. So all I'm doing is, you know, on spawn, the hunters, you know, we're gonna get the hunter shot, we're gonna kill the hunter, the hunter's gonna go away, and we're simply just going to continue to clone over and over the new one and then delete an old, so that this stasis bullet we can use by cloning methods, but it never goes away. And so it'll constantly always be the bullet trigger. You do want to put this somewhere far away and kind of out of sight, because the hunter that spawns here is going to delete after he feeds in what the bullet should be, and so he will delete, but you just want to make sure that, you know, this happens, because if this doesn't happen, then we can't get to the nitty-gritty, the next stuff, which is the turrets. And so they're going to start working right off the bat, which is why it's important that this happens, right? So he's going to feed the bullet, and then if we go over here, we have our turrets that are actually doing damage. And the mortars do take a second to update their areas, but they do end up hitting their targets. So, and then those guys are just out of range. Now, just to run it through again, just to show you guys one more time. And these will be right after this. We'll get into how to edit and change the fire rate, the radius. This is so cool. So what we're doing is the projectile is being cloned. I'm assuming that those guys are out of range, but this projectile is what you're seeing used as a bullet. So it's going to be copied and pasted and cloned to the area over there, and then they use it as an actual bullet. So we'll get into the math on changing things, and so this is actually going to be super simple for everyone. I'm going to save you guys the trouble, and I've already made it to where you can easily copy and paste these. So at the start of the game, I actually had just this one. So these two are copy and pastes, which you've already seen them in action. And if you wanted to, you could even take this and you could say, boop, just like that. And so what you're going to do is you're going to want to make sure that all of these components, every single one of these, is constantly together. Do not prefab them. That will mess things up. When you're cloning, you can prefab them, but just make sure that when you place this wherever it's going to be, that you unprefab it. And so that way the scripts don't mess up or anything like that. And so essentially, let's talk about range first. So the range here is the area of the script brain that's above it. And what we're simply going to do is, if we want to increase that, we just simply go into the boundary of it and we increase it to 300. For me personally, I think 200 is a pretty, it doesn't look like that far, but it's a pretty good range. And so I wouldn't, you know, if you can, I probably wouldn't touch that. We will go into the script brain, and right off the bat, this is all the math, the trigonometry and stuff like that you guys need, the damage, the health, everything. I've made it super simple, so you guys don't even have to touch any of this. What you do need are these numbers down here. So this is going to be the fire rate. This is going to be the, like, how far, I don't know if I showed you guys that, how far a unit has to be in order to see I gave them health bars. Should have probably showed you guys. So they do things when you damage them. Okay, well that one's, I'll fix that. But they do have updates. And so as you can see, they do change. And so they do have a health bars. And so what we can do is, this is going to be the fire rate, so how fast the bullet goes. I would not suggest putting this to 0. If anything, the lowest I would suggest is probably 0.10, all the way to about 5, depending on how fast you want it to target people. But anything over 1 second, to me at least, feels a little slow. And then this is going to be the health. I actually have a plateau, so these are cloned objects. You guys are not going to mess with this at all. You're going to leave this completely alone, unless you want to change, unless you want to dig into it on your own. That's fine, but you just leave it alone for now. This is what it is cloning. So this is, think of like the bullet for the mortar, just like that is over there. And so think about the bullet for the mortar, and the call down animation, the animation for units that are spawning. So these are just cloned objects. So just take this just like that, just drag it off into nowhere. And so the math on this one, nice and easy, is going to be all the way down on the left, just like before. And so the number right here is your health. We're going to scoot this up here because you actually don't need that. But this is going to be the health. And then this is going to be the range. So whatever range you guys set the number to, so like I have a radius of 700, this range right here needs to be the same. And that way, whenever people walk into the area, right, of whatever you set it to, just like with this, the range is 200. So when people walk into the range into 200, or 200 meters away, they will get a notification that, hey, this thing exists, that it has health, that it will target you. They'll get a little icon, just like we have here. So that's really it. This should be as simple as copying and pasting. If you guys want me to cover anything or have anything for me to cover more so, let me know. But this is going to be essentially all that I do for at least the Covenant drop pods. And like I said, when I have it done for you guys, I will make it very easy to change, like to look at and basically remember what you saw from the video. So other than that, I hope that you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you guys like it. And if you guys need anything else in the future, please comment any ideas that you guys have that you want me to cover. Make easy use for you guys, especially the ones who are not scripters. Those, forgers, I really try to make things as easy as possible for you guys with very bare minimum knowledge of scripting. So other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you guys have a blessed and beautiful day and enjoy your weekend.